Just something to stretch out your legs a little bit is where we want to start. All right, afternoon to everyone hopping in it virtually as well. So we are going to get going this afternoon in a seated position. So just take the next maybe 6 to 8 breaths and stretch your legs out a little bit. So really any way that feels good to you, whether it's wide or narrow, or if you just want to come into down dog. But before we get too situated, let's move it around a little bit, especially if you maybe popped in from work or at some other situation where you've been seated most of your day so far. Take a little bit of movement before we become still once again. So a couple more breaths. Move your legs, move your spine, just kind of roll around, stretch things out a little bit. Always helpful if you have a blanket to sit on to elevate your hips. Helpful to protect our low back a little bit. Also keep that little just natural forward tilt of your pelvis, which again, if you have any tightness around the hips, if you have any tightness around the low back, sitting onto something that's a little bit higher, so maybe folding that blanket a little bit thicker is beneficial as well. So go ahead and just get situated here up onto that folded blanket, again, whatever height you need. If you find that your knees are a lot higher than your hips, or again, there's any rounding or stiffness, just sit up on something a little bit higher. You can use your legs to help support one another, or if you're feeling pretty flexible in the hips, you want a little bit more, you can align your feet so that your heels roughly align here with one another. So any option works. Big thing is try to focus on getting a pretty tall spine. So anything about the way you're sitting impedes your posture, make those little adjustments. Sometimes it's just a shift of the weight, repositioning of a body part, repositioning of a prop, but try to get into a space where you can sit nice and tall, but at the same time, really maintain a natural shape to your spine here. So there's a curve behind your low back, there's a curve behind your neck. Exaggerate just a touch on the shoulder roll here. So we want to start with our shoulders really settled back and down. And I would say exaggerate a little bit because of the time inadvertently we tend to kind of lose some of that. So start here and hopefully we'll end up in a more natural position. That being said, close your eyes. Just give yourself a couple moments to arrive onto your mat this afternoon. So maybe today has been a really relaxing, chill day so far. Maybe today has been a little bit chaotic, somewhere in between, whatever it's been. Let that go. And just give yourself a few moments to really examine what brought you to your mat this afternoon. Maybe it's as simple as this is what you do on noon on Tuesdays. Maybe there's something in particular your body's asking for this afternoon. Maybe there's something we need more on a mental or spiritual level this afternoon. Maybe it's a little bit of everything. So just again, really tap into physically, mentally, emotionally, what it is that brought you onto your mat today. And give yourself the chance to align with any intention that you may have for your practice this afternoon. Always keeping in mind, it doesn't have to be anything super profound, right? Maybe the intention is just to give yourself some space to breathe. Maybe the intention is to work on mobility in your body. Whatever the case might be, align with why you're here. And then take just a few big centering breaths here to help situate that intention here. So the biggest, deepest breaths in you can possibly take. Take about 5 big centering breaths through the nose if you like. You can exhale through the mouth if that doesn't suit you well, in and out through the nose. Just at your own pace. We're all going to be breathing probably somewhat differently. And then whenever you come to that final, that 5th big centering breath, if you're okay with retention, pause, hold the breath just a moment at the top, perhaps just a tiny sip more air. And let it all go. Continuing to sit nice and tall. I'm going to get into those shoulders a little bit. So take a breath in, just reach the arms out to a T, hands to about shoulders height here. Spread the fingers a little bit. So do try to actually stretch out the palms of the hands a touch. Another big breath in, those shoulders really shimmy down. And as you exhale, take that left hand, sweep it across your body. Use your right hand like an anchor here. So we're not pulling, we're not putting a lot of force into this, more so an anchor point. Keep that left elbow a bit bent. That'll help drop your left shoulder. And then just take a few breaths, sitting tall. Again, it's nothing that we're putting a lot of force into, but you want to feel like you're drawing that upper arm bone in towards your chest. Helps to open right into the kind of upper portion, the upper back of your shoulder. Let's take another big breath. And then your next inhale, release out to T. Arms stretch long. We're going to flip that left palm away. And as you exhale, reach back, grab for that left wrist. Take that hand over here to your right hip. Now, if it's easier on your body, you can also weave the fingers together. So you can either hold the wrist or you can just make a fist with the hands here, whatever gives you a better anchoring point. I want you to feel like that left shoulder really drops. Try to feel even weight in both of your sit bones. We'll take a big breath in. And as you exhale, you can either stay or drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. If you're dropping the ear, just make sure it's not too much. If it is, you can always lift up a touch or take your hand back to your lap. So let that head be nice and heavy without taking any weight out of that left sit bone. Take another breath in. And then you can either stay or on the exhale, do everything you're doing, but tilt the chin in a little bit like you're trying to touch your nose right onto the top of that right shoulder. So you're dropping the head and turning it. That should get you a little more deeply into that left side of your neck, somewhere on the outer side of the neck. Let's take another big breath. And then inhale, lift your head right back to that neutral spine, reach the arms out nice and long. And as you exhale, we're going to take the arms out, cross that left wrist in front, clasp the hands, and then round your back. So you're going to puff your upper back a little bit. Try to feel like you're separating your shoulder blades just a touch. Just checking in. I had a message come through online that's, can anybody hear sound? I'm showing that my mic is working, so let me know if anybody can hear the sound. Take another big breath here. And then as you inhale, you're just going to lift your head right back to neutral, bend your elbows a bit, and then slowly take the hands up and back. Now, if you push your chest forward, you've gone too far. So you want to keep a pretty neutral spine, whether your hands are forward or above your head. Bend those elbows enough and just feel some good length here through your spine. Just a couple breaths. I realize by now the shoulders may be getting a little bit warm. This little sequence really gets into pretty much the entire musculature of your shoulders here. Let's take another breath in. And then let go as you exhale. You can grab hold of that left wrist here. I'm sorry, that would be your elbow, not your wrist. If that's a little bit too much, you can also take that right hand around and just push onto your upper arm bone. So either option is just fine. If you find that you push your head forward, you might be better off grabbing hold of the arm bone here. Take just one more big breath. And then that next inhale, let go. Look up if your neck's okay with that. Stretch as tall as you can and float the arms back down as you exhale. So you might feel a little blood flow into that left arm. Give yourself any little resets, kind of shimmy, shake it out that you need. And we're going to be coming into the opposite cross to your leg. So remember which leg you have in front. Before you switch, take a moment and stretch your legs out. Give a couple little rolls to your ankles. Stretch out a little bit through the legs. Give it another 3 to 4 breaths here. Okay, so good. Take one more big breath. And then your next inhale, lift yourself right back up, hopefully still remembering which leg was in front. That leg is now going to come behind. If you're not sure, it's probably the one that feels a little unnatural because we tend to be habitual with all the things, right? Even down to how we cross our legs. So give it a moment, situate, root down those sit bones. Take just a couple moments with the eyes closed to just feel your body in this shape. So a couple things to take note of. I want you to feel like you're sitting, again, pretty heavily through both of your sit bones. Your body feels fairly natural in this shape. And then take a moment to just notice your shoulders. Right now, I feel like my left shoulder is about 3 inches lower than my right. So just notice any differences that you might feel through the left side versus the right side. I promise we'll even it out here in just a moment. And so it's nice to take a moment, step back, and just observe. That next inhale, arms out to T. Again, stretch long through the arms. And exhale, shrug down just a little bit. This round, take the hands back just slightly, just enough to get a little stretch in here through the front of the chest. We'll take one more inhale. And this time the right arm across as you exhale. Use that left arm to anchor it. We're not turning, we're not shifting the weight. We're still sitting just as tall as you can, simply using that left arm to anchor the right arm into place. Couple deep breaths. Now, if you have fairly flexible shoulders, make sure you're not pushing so hard against your chest that you can't get a deep breath in and out, or in would be more appropriate. You can take just a couple more nice deep breaths here. One more breath. And then your next inhale, reach it out, arms back to T. We're going to spin the right hand back this time. And as you exhale, bring it behind. Either grab that wrist and pull it over, or interweave the fingers together, drop that right shoulder. Couple of big breaths, sitting tall as you do. Let's take a moment to kind of notice where you're at. If this is too much, you can always take hands back to your lap as we drop the head. So once you're ready, left ear starts to fall towards your left shoulder. Couple of your deepest breaths, just tapping into the side, noticing how it feels compared to the other side. Take another inhale. And as you exhale, either stay or continue to drop the head, but turn that nose in a little bit. And you can go super slow. Sometimes we turn a little too quickly, bless you. We almost skip right over the stretch. So sometimes you don't have to turn quite as far as you think you do. So important to always move slowly and actually pay attention to what's going on in your body. Two more breaths. And then on the inhale, lift the head right back up. Take those arms right back out to T. This time the right hand on top. So as you exhale, cross the wrist, weave the fingers, and then exhale, round. You got a little tuck going of your tail. You're dropping your chin towards your chest. Your spine is rounded, kind of that C shape here with the spine. If you want a little bit more, just really push those knuckles far forward here towards the front of your space. Give it just a couple more big breaths. One more breath here. And then keep your arms as they are. We'll inhale back to that neutral spine. Bend your elbows just for clearance here. We want to make room for that head. And then start to pull up without pushing your rib cage or your chest forward. So if you feel like you got to back bend a little bit, just bring those arms a little bit further forward. I want you to keep the stretch in your shoulder here. We're not really getting into that spine here just yet. Couple more big breaths. And then that next inhale, release the hands, reach up. Take that right elbow and bend it on exhale, either holding lightly onto the elbow or reaching around to the front of the arm bone here. So either option. But you want that elbow more or less pointing up in the direction or working towards the direction of the ceiling. Rib cage still hugging in, breath still strong. One more deep breath. And then let go. That next inhale, reach up just as tall as you can be here. And a brief twist to the left as you exhale. Take that left hand behind, reach that right hand over to the opposite knee. Push down a little bit through your left fingertips behind you and just encourage your spine to sit up just as tall as you can. Take one more breath in. And then from the belly, exhale back to center. Soften a bit through the shoulders and inhale the arms up. Switching directions as you exhale, turn over to your right. Right hand behind this time, left hand across. Crown of the head tall. One more big inhale. And again, strong core. Exhale your way back to center. Take a big breath in, arms lift. And this time all fours as you exhale, lowering the hands down. Take those hands under your shoulders. We're gonna be on the knees for just a little bit of time. So if you wanna pad the knees, use your blanket. Otherwise, give it a couple rolls of your spine here, cat-cow it out a little bit. So release a little bit into your spine. Now have a look at your hands. See how widely you can spread those fingers apart. See how much of a grip you can get down to the palms of your hands. And then tuck your toes under, take a big breath in, soften those elbows a touch, and then downward dog as you exhale, push your hips high, and really give a good couple strong pedals of your legs here. So I want you to really just get some movement in through the back of the legs, especially after we've been seated. So if you lift and lower your heels a few times, that'll get you more into the soles of the feet, in and around the calves, the Achilles, bending and straightening the knees, a little bit more into the hamstrings. So play into both. Give it about 3 more breaths. Again, any degree of movement here that feels good to your body. We'll take another breath in. And then on your exhale, shift it forward into a plank here so that your shoulders are over your wrists. You can have your knees on the floor if you like. Just one more breath in, that core super strong. And then drop your knees and exhale into Sphinx. So we're going to bring our elbows and our forearms onto the mat. Walk your feet back and gently set your hips, your pelvis to the floor. Once you're down, widen your feet a touch. You want your feet a little wider than your hips with the heels rolling open. And if this is a bit intense, especially on your spine or your low back, bring your elbows forward a bit. So the more forward you walk the elbows, the less of that lift you get, the less intensity around the low back. And then lastly, really try to soften your jaw a little bit. There's no tension or tightness. Our gaze is somewhat out to the floor in front of you. So we're not really looking up. We're also not really looking down, just kind of somewhere in between, a pretty neutral position for your neck. Just a few big breaths. So really do try to feel like those shoulders pull back and down. Your collarbones are broad. There's a lot of space for your breath here. So do continue to breathe in and out just as deeply as you can. Take another big breath in. And then forehead to hands as you exhale. We'll stack those hands together, rest your forehead lightly onto it. And as you lift your feet off the floor, windshield wiper and rock those feet a few times from side to side. So slowly enough to actually feel what it is you're doing and try to get into that low back a bit more. Eventually you can drop your feet back down and just wag your tail, give a little shake of the hips. One more big breath. And on your next inhale, bring your hands under your shoulders. We'll try to squeeze those elbows in, firm the belly a bit, and then exhale back to all fours. Once you're ready, now you can take a couple cat-cows or movements here, but we are going to move into child's pose once you're ready. So if your low back needs a little release, move it around, but eventually widen those knees, set your torso into that space here, your forehead down onto your mat. Give it just a couple deep breaths. I want you to feel some just good length here around that low back. One more breath. And then on your next inhale, stay here, but walk your hands a little bit further forward so that your arm bones lift up off the mat. Keep your shoulders plugged in, but as you exhale, walk your hands over to the left, however far you need to walk them to feel as stretched on your right side. Picking up your head and just repositioning your head in a way that works, that feels okay on your neck. I want you to feel lots of space here through your right side body. One more breath. And then inhale, crawl back through center, arms lengthen all the way to the other side. And as you exhale, just settle in. Again, repositioning your head, pushing that left sit bone back and really feeling the space here down that left side. One more breath. And then your next inhale back through center with the arms. Stay nice and long through the arms. Really feel the palms of your hands pushing into the floor. And then exhale, rise back all fours, lifting up, tucking your toes, and eventually making your way back into downward facing dog. Floating those hips back up once again, checking the spacing between your feet. Try to make sure your feet are at least hips width distance apart. A couple pedals, wiggles, shakes, whatever you need to just kind of limber up, loosen up here a bit. Another breath in. And then bend your knees quite a bit. As you exhale, walk your hands back to your feet. So we're going to come into a forward fold. Feet still at least hips width distance apart, knees fairly bent. So let yourself drape over your legs. So really easy here in the body. Take just a couple more big breaths. If you'd like to release the neck a little bit, nod, shake the head. Any other bit of movement that just feels appealing to you. One more breath. And then your next inhale, lift up halfway. Lengthen the spine, a little bit more active around the upper body here. Let it go as you exhale, knees bend, head drops. Once again, inhale, lift halfway, get some length. Exhale, fold in. This time, come to standing as you inhale, push your feet down, sweep the arms, reaching nice and tall above the head. And then close your eyes on exhale, settle your hands into your heart space here. See if you can just shrug those shoulders back just a touch. Find a really tall, strong position here for the body, but still a little bit soft around the edges. Everything feels in a more or less natural. Take another breath. And then we'll inhale here, reach those arms overhead. Nice long stretch. Bow forward as you exhale, bending your knees as much as you need. Hinging right from your hips, head drops, and inhale, rise halfway. Exhale, fold back in. Inhale your way to standing, root down, reach long through the arms. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale again, take it up. And exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way back up, root down, stretch long through your arms. Once those palms connect, we'll exhale, hands back to heart. Inhale, rise. And exhale, dive again. Inhale here, halfway. And now bend your knees a lot. Exhale your hands to the floor and super slow, just crawl yourself forward into a plank. So if you want more challenge, drop those hips, drop those knees, get just as low as you can. Eventually finding yourself in a plank, either on your knees or on your toes. Take another deep breath in here. Big breath out, let it go. One more inhale. And then downward dog as you exhale, simply float your hips up. Give yourself that little pedal of your feet. Take another deep breath in. And slowly walk the feet forward this time as you exhale. So feet move to hands, this time top of your mat. Toes spread wide and inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand tall, anchor down, reach long through your arms, and exhale, hands to heart. Let's take one round, some modified sun salutation here to kind of warm the body, get the blood flowing a little bit. So big breath in, reach the arms up. And exhale, bow forward. Inhale, halfway. Find your right leg and exhale, step it back. Lower down onto that right knee, finding your lunge, and then a hand sweep overhead on inhale, long through the arms to the side bodies. Exhale, hands land to the mat. Keep your elbows soft. As you lift that back knee, we'll inhale into plank, your left foot stepping back next to your right foot. Exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. And then inhale that left leg to the sky, find a scorpion dog so your left knee points towards the ceiling. Exhale, left foot between the hands, keep your back knee off the floor this time. And as you inhale, just push into your fingertips, lift your chest a little bit here. Good, low in the hips. Exhale, forward fold, feet back up, top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, bow back in. And then rise, that next inhale, root down, reach up, biggest stretch you can find. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway. This time, locate your left leg and exhale, step it back. Long step before you drop that left knee. Sink the hips down and inhale, reach up, hands stretch overhead. Exhale, hands to mat. Spread your fingers. And coming to plank on inhale, lift that back knee, step your right leg back. Exhale, down dog, just lift the hips. Inhaling to that scorpion dog, right leg high, kneecap points to the ceiling. And then exhale, step forward, land the right foot silently. Drop the hips a touch and inhale, lift the chest just a little bit here, pushing into the fingertips. Exhale, forward fold, step back up. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale up all the way, root down, stretch your body long. And hands to your low back as you exhale, soften those knees a little bit, Shrug the shoulders way back and take a breath in. Lift the center of your chest. More so than anything, try to hug your elbows in towards one another and really broaden here into the front of the shoulders. Take another breath in. And then firm the belly. Exhale back to neutral. We'll take a breath in, reach the arms on the diagonal this time for chair pose. We exhale, push those hips back and down. So sink the weight into your heels, still keeping just a light connection to the toes here. Feet can stay hips width distance apart. You can heel toe them a little closer together if you want more challenge for your balance today. But if you can, really push those hips back. Try to get your knees back behind your toes. Take another breath in. And fold forward as you exhale, knees straighten, head hangs heavy. Inhaling here as you lift halfway. And now exhale, hands down. Step that right foot long, right into a runner's lunge here. Perch up into your fingertips, and as you inhale, just like we did earlier, drop the hips, lift your chest just a touch. As you exhale, warrior two. We're gonna pivot that back heel down to the mat, and then use your breath in to rise. So as you come up, hands align roughly with your shoulders. Your hips start to level out a little bit without in any way feeling forced. So just try to make sure if you're dropping that back hip at all, it doesn't put any pressure around your hip joint. Let's give it another deep breath. So strong bend into that front knee. And then inhale, reverse that warrior. Take your left hand, reach it up and back, long as you can get here through that whole left side. And exhale, cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Lift that back heel up off the floor and then gently set that back knee down. Your back toes tucked or untucked, that's up to you. But we'll inhale, lift the hands together up above the head. And then hinge as you exhale, elbows bend. You're gonna swing that right elbow across into a twist. Your alternative is to keep your chest a little bit taller and take your wrist across. So likely you're kind of pushing that elbow into your knee. Just make sure to push your knee back into your elbow a little bit. So the pinky toe edge of that left foot, really pushing down into the floor. That's gonna help to keep that knee tracking forward just a little bit more. Let's take one more deep breath. Inhale, winding back through center, reach it up nice and long here through the arms, teeny little back bend if you like. And exhale, hands down to the mat. Perch up to those fingertips and take a breath in, lift the back knee. Keep those hips nice and low. As you exhale, step forward, right back to the top of your mat. Head can drop heavy. Inhale here, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale this time up to standing, root down, stretch up. Big reach and exhale, hands back to your heart. We'll inhale once again, lift up. And exhale, dive down. Inhale here, halfway. And now left leg back as you exhale. Stay on your fingertips, find that strong runner's lunge just for a moment. Foot way back behind you, chest tall. One more inhale. And then warrior two, on exhale, pivot the heel, push the pinky toe edge of your foot down and use your breath in to come up. Simmer down a little bit into the shoulders, so really try to sink those shoulders a little bit. Lengthen your arms, check the direction of your front knee. Make sure it points forward. Good. Just a couple big breaths. I want you to feel, even though there's some effort going into this posture, you got the freedom to breathe. Your rib cage is open. There's space for your breath. And we're putting a good degree of focus and awareness onto our breathing. One more breath here. Then reverse on your inhale, flip the right hand, big reach up and back through that whole right side body. Exhale, cartwheel down, bring your hands to the mat, lift that back heel and then drop that back knee. Big breath in, reach up. Once again, your hands connect together overhead. And exhale, a little hinge, bring that left elbow across, or stay a little bit taller and bring that left wrist across. Continue dropping your hips forward and down. Again, check your breath, especially when we twist. Sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging to breathe deeply, so see what you can do here. One more big breath. And then inhale, wind it back up, hands back to the ceiling, feeling a little back bend if that feels good. And exhale, fingertips down. Perch down into those fingertips and take a breath in, lift your back knee, keep your hips low. Exhale, step forward, align back to the top of your mat. We'll inhale here, lift halfway. And again, for chairs, you exhale, bend the knees, push those hips way back and down, and inhale, reach the arms. I know we've done quite a bit for the shoulders so far, so if you just want to take your hands to your heart, all is fair. Find what works for you. Try to center your gaze just a couple more breaths, so you can be as low in the legs here as you like, or you can stay a bit higher if that's too much. One more inhale. And then exhale, fold forward, knees straighten, head drops. Inhale, halfway lift. And now bend your knees as you exhale, anywhere from your palms to your fingertips to the mat. Just a brief half split. We're going to pick up that right foot and see as you start to aim your right toes towards the ceiling, your head can drop towards your floor, towards the floor of your knee. Just one more breath in. And then as you exhale, landing that foot lightly to the back of your mat, lunge position. For crescent lunge this time, give it a little bend to that back knee and take a breath in, come up. So ensuring that your feet are hips width distance apart. Your back heel lifts high up off the mat. Your hips can stay fairly low, so the degree of bend into both knees, up to you. A little bit lower into the legs, probably a little bit more heat you're gonna build. Let's take one more big breath in. And then open warrior two as you exhale, pivot that back heel down. Give a little sink to the shoulder here and take a breath in back to reverse, left arm up and back. This time side angle pose as you exhale, coming forward with that left hand, finding a long reach through your right arm, whether it's more forward or more up, that's really just up to your shoulder. Try to keep that left arm really light. Push down a lot through that right pinky toe. Just one more big breath. And then reverse once again on your inhale, sweep that left arm up and back. Exhale, cartwheel down, hands meet to the floor. Lift your back heel. This time we're going to keep that back heel lifted. See how much you can drop your hips. Really scoot that right foot back. And then eventually inhale your left hand up for a twist. Now, if you like, you can drop your back knee, your right knee down. Always an alternative. If you're keeping that knee lifted, just see how long you can make the leg, how long you can make the spine. Another breath in. And then exhale, lower. Bring that left hand down to the floor, gently releasing that right knee. And let's release that left leg. Take a breath in, walk the hands back as you straighten into a half split. Now, I always find I probably maybe have shorter arms, but it's really nice to put something underneath the arms. You can use a block, you can use a blanket, but it does help protect your back a little bit, especially your low back, so we're not, crunching over that leg. Try to keep a little bit of a lift here if you can. Noticing where your hips go. A lot of times they do veer to the right just a little bit here, so guide them in. And then from there, there's always the option to explore a little bit. You can drop your pinky toe, your big toe, point, flex. So obviously, if none of this stuff feels good, just opt out. But if it feels good to change up that stretch a little bit by moving the foot, we got about 3 more breaths. Let's take one more breath here. And then inhale, bend into that left knee again. Reach your hands back up, right back to your runner's lunge. And exhale, fingertips to mat. Pop up to those fingertips, take a breath in, lift that back knee. And now we step it forward. Exhale, forward fold, right back to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale your way to standing, pushing down without locking your knees. And a little cactus as you exhale, elbows bend, lift the chest. Squeeze that belly tight and inhale, hands back overhead. And hands to heart on exhale. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bow down. Inhale here, halfway. And now exhale, bend your knees enough to get your hands down to the mat for that half or standing split. So fingertips down or palms down, use a block. Keep the right foot down this time, but as you inhale, you're going to slowly start to peel your left toes up towards the ceiling. As you do, like a little teeter-totter, your head drops. So not warrior three, more of a split. Very good. Just one more breath in. And then soften that standing leg as you exhale. Runner's lunge first, drop the left toes lightly. Give a little bend to that knee and inhale your way to crescent lunge. Take it up. Soften in through the shoulders, hug those ribs in. Steadying out your gaze, so wherever you're looking, just keeping a soft, steady gaze. We'll take another big breath in. And then for warrior two, we exhale, pivot down through that back heel. Stay nice and broad through the chest. Push down a lot through both pinky toes. Make sure that your jaw is nice and soft, and then take the deepest breath you can possibly take here. Really do try to check that breathing. We'll inhale, reverse, right hand reaches up and back. And exhale, side angle, a somewhat deeper bend to the knee. Take that left hand, and again, just play a little bit with exactly where you reach. Wherever it lands first is not where it has to stay. Find what works for your shoulder, what works for your neck. Get as much length on that whole left side here as you can. One more big breath. And then inhale back through reverse, sweep up, sweep back. Exhale, hands back to floor, cartwheel down. Plug your left hand, always be sure to lift your back heel. Scoot it back a bit. See how low you can get in the hips, and then just the chest turns as you inhale that right hand up. So we want to make sure we're not skewing our hips or our front knee. You want more support, back knee to the floor. Breathe deeply here. We'll take another breath in. And exhale, lower the hand, lower the knee, and now we start to scoot the hips back. Again, feel free to grab any props that you like here to just give yourself a little bit more length through the arms. Guide those hips more towards the midline here. Good. Really hinging from the hips here. And then you've got that opportunity to kind of test the waters on this side, maybe moving the foot a little bit. And I always say maybe, because if it doesn't feel good, you can not do it. Couple more big breaths. Then your next inhale, rebend the knee, sink back to your lunge, sweep up, lifting hands overhead. Exhale, fingertips down. Perch up to your fingertips and take a big breath in, lift that back knee, a little different this time. As you exhale, you're gonna pivot your body over to the left, moving your feet, your legs into a straddle. A little bit pigeon-toed, meaning that your heels are a little bit wider than your toes, unless that bothers your Achilles or any other body part. And then just sink your hips from one side to the other. You can do this for a few rounds of breath. And kind of like when we usually start with our cat-cows and spinal movements, just let this morph. So if your body's asking to go somewhere else, maybe shifting of the weight forward or back, a little side bend, whatever it might be that also feels good to you, try to really just get into some good stuff here. So don't be afraid to explore a little bit. We'll take about another 6 to 8 breaths in this kind of general straddle shape here, but do with it what you will. One more breath. And then inhale, perch to your fingertips. So like a half lift, your hands can slide under your shoulders. Bend your right knee and exhale, pivot back to face the top of your mat here, hands coming to the floor. And a big breath in, downward dog, lift your right foot back. Widen the space between your feet a little bit. Give a good pedal. Another big breath in. And then knees down on exhale, knees under hips. Lower to your elbows like we did earlier, but this time puppy pose. So we're going to keep knees under hips this time. Elbows under shoulders, and then start to lift your tailbone towards the ceiling. As you do, start to drop your chest towards the floor. Now, if this is too much, you can always not drop as far. The more you drop the chest, the more you lift the tail, the more you're going to feel. With your head, you can either let your head drop here, or you can hold it in a shape that works. Now, if you want more, you can walk your elbows further forward and start to lengthen your arms as you do all of these other things. Just a few more big breaths. Next inhale, lift the head a little bit first. Start to tuck that tail a little. So coming out of that tail lift, and then pushing down into your palms, lift yourself up. Come to all fours, move through some cat cows, some barrel rolls, just some real kind of natural movement here to help release the back. And take a moment, tuck your toes. Pulse your hips back towards your heels. If this is pretty intense, you might take a couple pulses and just kind of ease your way into it. But whenever you get into a foot stretch that feels good, you can start to walk your hands a bit closer to your knees. You can even start to lift your hands up off the floor and settle the weight into your heels. If this sounds the warning bells, keep your hands down. So just a couple breaths. Soles of the feet. I find that this is a very divisive pose. People either love it and say it feels great, or I get the dirtiest looks ever. So just give it a couple breaths here. One more inhale. And then exhale, hands back down. Bring your hands forward again. And we'll just give a little tap out once again of the feet. Once you're there, step your knees a touch wider apart. Come back into child's pose for a few breaths. Just a really relaxed child's pose this time. So your elbows and forearms can stay on the floor. Your knees, however, wide apart that you need just to feel good in your body. And take about 5 to 6 more deep breaths. One more breath. Then inhale, slowly lift. Come back to all fours. It's your final opportunity on the hands and the knees just to really freely move your back. We are going to be coming down onto our backs here in just a moment. So get that last little couple of rolls and cat cows and whatever else it might be in. And then once you're ready, you can come down, bring your bum to the floor, and just ease your way onto your back from here. Take a few moments once you're on your back to just let the soles of your feet come down onto the floor. Your arms can reach out to a T, and start with just a little windshield wiper here. Let your knees roll a few times from side to side. If your neck is okay with it, move your head in opposition. So knees one way, nose the other. Take another breath. And then a gentle bridge pose. Make sure your feet are about hips width distance apart, a few inches, several inches away from your sit bones. Reach your hands by your side. And as you inhale, tuck your shoulders. I want to make sure you can really push your shoulders and arm bones into the floor. As you exhale, start to lift your hips up off the floor. And as your hips lift, your knees still stay about hips width distance apart here. Again, the bulk of the weight in your shoulders, arm bones, and feet. We don't want to put too much weight in the neck or the head. If you do want a little bit more, you can roll your arm bones underneath your body, clasp your hands together, and take just a little more puff to the chest. So just a couple more breaths here. Take one more big breath in. And as you exhale, arms out from underneath you, roll down nice and slow. One little vertebrae at a time. Gently resetting your whole spine back to the floor once your sacrum touches. You can pause a moment whenever you feel ready. Again, a little windshield wiper of your knees. Let's take another breath. And then keep your left foot on the floor for now. We're going to inhale as you grab the back of your right leg lightly. So not a whole lot of pulling. You can pull a little, but nothing overdone. Right knee soft as you need it to be here. And just try to create a little bit of space here down the back of your right leg. Make sure that your head and your shoulders stay rooted. Stay anchored onto the floor. And if you'd like to get some movement into that right ankle, you can also take a few little ankle circles here. Another breath in. And then to figure four, as you exhale, right knee bends a lot. We place that right ankle to the left thigh. Keep your right foot flexed and either just stay like that or reach through. You can grab hold of your left leg, holding on to the back of that left leg. And again, it usually doesn't require a ton of pulling. More the weight of your arms will kind of help ease everything in towards your body. So find that doable amount of stretch and breathe. Give it a few big breaths, taking that time to just breathe in and out as deeply as you can. Another inhale. We'll unhook that right ankle, and as you exhale, lightly set your right foot down to the mat. Keep holding the back of that left leg and then begin to lift your left foot up towards the ceiling. Knee just however straight is comfortable, no need to go beyond that at all. Let your arms anchor and weigh that leg here. And then if you'd like a little ankle movement, a few circles of the ankle. Another breath in. And your figure four on exhale, left ankle to opposite thigh, left foot flexed. Feel like the left knee moves away from you, and then consider reaching through, grabbing your right leg, hugging it all in. One more breath in. And then gently let it go as you exhale, right foot to floor, unhook that left ankle. Rock the knees from side to side. When you next inhale, grab your knees, hug your knees into your chest and just squeeze like a tight little ball here, and then drop your knees to the left side. As you exhale, your arms expand out to a T. Your right shoulder pushes into the floor. So if you need to support your legs in any way, if there's tension on that top leg or hip, putting a blanket either between the knees or under the bottom knee can be helpful. Big key is to try to keep your right shoulder grounded. If you can't quite do that, lift the knees a little bit, and again, maybe tuck a prop underneath them. Lastly, just really conscious of your head positioning. Doesn't matter where you look, you can shake the head no a few times and just determine what direction it feels best to look. Just a few more deep breaths here, really feeling the fullness of that breath through the front of your body. Another deep breath in. Engage your core. So firm that belly and exhale, bring your knees back into your chest, squeezing tight once again. Nice big breath in. And now to the right as you exhale, the knees release, the arms stretch out, that left shoulder grounds down. Make sure left shoulder's heavy. Use any props here for support you like. Consider that little roll of the head until you find the most comfortable spot for your neck. One more inhale. Use your core. Exhale back to center. Grab your knees. Give yourself another little squeeze here. Big breath in. Knees tight to chest. Forehead to knees as you exhale. Curl it in. Squeeze yourself up nice and tight. Take another inhale. And then gently release on exhale, bringing your head, your feet to the floor. One hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Really give a good tuck to your shoulders and then butterfly the legs here so that your knees splay open to the side. Now, if you'd like support, you can roll your blanket between your sit bones and your heels here to help support those thigh bones, or you can use blocks underneath the knees. Take a few big breaths here and try to move your hands when you breathe so your breath deep and strong enough that you're lifting and moving that entire rib cage and torso. Let's take one more deep breath. And you can use your hands to reach down, find your outer legs, gently push those knees back together. And just for a moment, heel toe your feet wider, let your knees knock together. Take your arms out, just a goalpost or wide V shape. Take just a couple big breaths. Use this time to scan through your body and just take note of anything else your body might like before Shavasana. So from here, if there's any final pose, any last stretch, you just want to reset and wiggle around a little bit. Take the next few breaths, getting your body ready for Shavasana. Again, whatever that means to you. If there's something physically that you still want to do, or if you just want to take a few moments to maybe set some props up or position your body in a really comfortable way. But we're going to start that descent into Shavasana here. So any last bit that's going to help you feel settled. Give yourself plenty of time to get there and to really just, again, find the most comfortable shape you can possibly find for your body, whatever that means today. Taking up as much space as you need, using any props that you like. A little tuck of your shoulders, try to ensure that your chest stays open, your breath continues to have a clear path. And a big breath in here together, biggest inhale you can take. Pause a moment, hold your breath. Big exhale. Release each and every single drop, and as you do, now just give yourself the full space and permission to let go. You're not trying to control your mind, your breath, your body anymore. Instead, just allow yourself to completely disconnect and let it all go. Start to notice, to deepen your breath again. Let's take a few moments and expand the breath. And as you do, little wiggles here, just small movements of your toes and of your fingers. Gentle roll of your wrists, your ankles, slowly shake the head no. And as you next inhale, full body reach, stretch the whole body long. Exhaling as the knees bend, hug your knees in, squeeze yourself tight. Another big breath in. And then your exhale, roll over either side. Just pause a moment to settle in, take your deepest breath. Eventually anchoring down, push into your top hand and start to feel your way up and ease your way to a tall seat. Find a space where you can sit with the breath. Breath able to move freely in your body. Hands draw into your heart space. We'll close this afternoon with one last shared breath. On that next inhale, arms sweep overhead. Take a big stretch and reach here, palms connect. Exhale, hands to heart. Thank you all so much for being present here this afternoon to share your breath, your energy, your practice. Have a beautiful afternoon. Namaste. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for those of you who popped in virtually. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.